This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Let me get rid of that. To the Long Run Show. My name is Chris Ford, and this is live, people. We are live from Chicago. I know we're not. That was last week, wasn't it? But we are here. Hang on a sec. Let me just. I'm not. My camera's not on. Hang on. I'm sorry about that. So we are live from Hayden's house in Chicago, and today we're going to be talking about We Don't Know. No, we are going to be talking about something. We're going to be talking about reducing mileage after basically a block of training, a end of season, let's call it. Some of us are still training for things. Other people are just given up, haven't they, Ben? But yeah, so we've got to give a shout out firstly before we start to our friends at Skechers, skechers.co.uk. Get over there and smash the living daylights out of that. I've just posted on Instagram, actually, a new pair of shoes they sent. Some of these casual ones that everyone seems to be wearing. They've done this deal with the. I'm going to get this wrong. Is it the Dojo Girls or something? Dojo something or other?
Dojo Cat.
Dojo Cat. Yeah, they've done a thing with them, and it's all over like social media. So anyway, yeah, we smashed that. So thank you very much to them. If you're looking for some shoes or anything like that, there's a pair of Asics, brand new Asics down there. I actually wore them today. You want this is no good for the podcast, is it? But they came from start finish. Use the code FORDY runs. You're welcome. 10% off. And so the team, we've assembled the Avengers tonight in our bobble hats because we all smashed the living daylights out of Chicago. And what? And we've got we're there's me. We've got Ben, Mr. 321. The Hobbit's here, Hayden's here, and ours down in the corner as well with about 50 layers on because he's cold, bless him. And so I said we're going to be talking about what it's like now. You know, to talk about what you do at the end of a block. What the hell do you do now? You know, I've been training for all this stuff, and whether it's half marathon, catch 5K, whatever. What do you do now, sort of thing? So we're going to be getting onto that in a minute, but we are going to talk about Chicago because obviously we all went there and had a good time. And I've got to give a shout out to the guys that believe. Have you seen the Believe in the Run podcast, guys? Or the video? They was talking about you lot. Talking about Mr. Speedgoat as well. Bit confused about what Toby got up to, and I have said I've reposted it. I've said just wait till Sunday's video comes out. Brilliant! It's absolutely brilliant. So watch that if you've got no idea what we're watching. Talking about, wait till you see that. And I think that's about it. So this is recorded live, by the way. This award-winning podcast. It is award-winning, believe it or not. Is recorded live. We're the biggest running podcast in Saudi Arabia, and we are recording this live. So get your comments, questions, whatever you do after a marathon training block, half marathon training block. What did you do when you got to 5K from the couch? Put it in the box and we'll get onto that. Any questions or anything you want to talk about, if you think my hat looks amazing, let me know. And I think that's probably about it. But I think we should start with our adventures in Chicago. What do you think, guys?
No, I think we should start with the obvious question everyone's going to know is, who have you paid to get the bobble hat from?
I paid no one. No money's changed hands.
Who's giving you the bobble hat?
No one's giving me a bobble hat. This is my bobble hat. What's the matter? What? I don't understand what the issue is. You always knew I was gonna. You always knew. I said it from day one when you all got really clever. Oh, we're going to Chicago together. I said to you, I'm gonna have one of them, and I'm gonna turn up on the podcast with one, and I don't need to do this 5K. Didn't I say that? I did say that, didn't I, Ben?
I'm not getting involved.
See, so you go. So there we go, people. So everybody on Instagram who said that I would be wearing one, you're right. So you're welcome. Can I take it off now because I'm really hot?
It is hot.
Yeah, okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Hayden, fill the views in what you've been up to.
What have been up to, Hayden, Ben?
Not much. Bit of running.
Like a week ago, we were touching down in stateside.
It really doesn't.
It's just weird how it goes so fast, doesn't it? It literally is half your life getting prepped and ready. You blink and it's over. Mm-hmm. And then you're back here with your gear. All the no idea, as they say. All the gear, no idea.
It is great. If someone just said we look like Smurfs. It is quite funny. I was editing Toby's video and to see like the sea of bobble hats, it's quite a sight. What was it like to be part of that, Ben?
I mean, you definitely need the bobble hat. It was cold at that time in the morning, but yeah, it's pretty insane. And then I went to the expo afterwards because we landed in kind of late-ish on the Friday afternoon, and obviously rocking the bobble hat around the expo.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who were like, "Oh, where'd you get that? Can I buy one? Can I buy?" I was genuinely.
No, they can't be bought, can they, Hayden?
They can't be bought. I was considering auctioning it off to the highest bidder to pay for the merch that I bought, but
Didn't
I
really
thought I
work
need
now.
it for tonight.
Yeah, there you go. For context, can some Hayden, you explain what this bobble hat is? So, don't forget, we are the biggest running podcast in the world. We're the biggest running club in the UK. That is actually true, and we're the biggest independent running podcast in the world, which is also true. So, Hayden, for our viewers, listeners in Saudi Arabia, where we're huge, Mongolia, Peru, obviously the whole country of Malta, where we're national treasures, can you fill them in on what actually we're talking about?
So with a lot of the world majors now, it seems to be a growing trend where they have almost like it's not a shakeout run. It's almost a big 5K event the day before. I had one in Boston. You get your shakeout runs that all your influencers and people like that organize and get to. But this is run by actual Chicago Marathon events. Well, it's actually run by Abbott's World Majors. I had one in Boston. It was a 5K. I think there was 15,000 of us that done that. And you get a nice T-shirt and finishers. But the thing with Chicago, it's become a little bit iconic, is when you run Chicago 5K, there's no finishers T-shirt. There's nothing like that. But you get the bobble hat. And they've actually really, really, for something so silly, they've really done a good job with this because it has almost become iconic. And if you gave everyone a T-shirt, not everyone would wear it for the 5K. There was 12,000 of us. And I would say out of 12,000, maybe 500 would wear the T-shirt and do the run. With the bobble hats, I'd say it's at least 10.5, maybe 11,000 that wore the bobble hat. So, and because they are as they are, standing up, looking like a Smurf, looking like a dwarf.
Looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And if you're actually there, it's even better. It's absolutely brilliant. You just see all these blue hats just bobbing up and down. It's just real fun. It's a 5K run. It's almost like a bit of an introduction to the city of Chicago. You do a tiny bit of the actual course on the day. You just get a feel for the city, and it just gets people together the day before a big marathon. Eases a bit of nerves, bit of tension, and it's done really nice and early in Chicago. So you've got the rest of the day to yourself. It's just a great concept that all the world majors are taking on, but Chicago has gone that one step further. Very, very clever. They've done the bobble. It's been going for absolute years, I believe. Carolyn done Chicago back in, what was that, 2017 or something?
Yeah, so she did 2017 and was new to all of this and just didn't get the kind of bobble hat. So she had to go back to do that. So that's 6 years after the event. But did you not notice there was one member of our big gang that didn't get the message? Poor old Kieran. When you look on all the Instagram posts,
I've seen it.
He's obvious by his absence of his bobble hat. So, God knows what he was thinking that morning. And I know I don't know if it was a protest, because as Rob's already said, this does probably work out at the most expensive 5K in the world if you're only running the 5K. Yeah. And he made us quite clear that he had that view, and then he didn't turn up with his bobble hat. So I think there was a little bit of protest going on from Kieran.
It's $15. It's about $15 per kilometre.
It's probably more if you name Speaker.
Yeah. That's true. That is true.
That is true. There is some questions coming. We'll come on to those in just a minute, because I do want to dive into, before we get onto the proper subject, but I do want to dive into how you guys ran, because I mean there was obviously we had the world record and stuff like that, but I don't really care about these elite runners. I'm only interested in my mates, and I think it was unbelievable to see you guys smashing the life out of it. And it's all relative, right? Where you came, it doesn't matter the times, but it's how you got on was just so amazing to see, because obviously you're traveling all that way, right? You are in a foreign country. I know America's Western or whatever, but you are in a foreign country. You got the time difference and you got all this stuff. I mean, you guys just killed it out there. I mean, you had the best time ever from what I've seen. And obviously I've edited 2 videos now. And it just looked like you had the best time, but then that obviously the times then came about as well. So Ben, let's firstly talk to you, because I know we had Ben and I, if you didn't know, we trained together over this block, and he's been killing it. I've said it about a million times how well he's been training. And it was no surprise to me to see that he smashed the living daylights out of it after sort of he dragged my sorry butt around Berlin. But we did have the best time there. But he's been flying in his training. I gave him a strategy which he absolutely nailed. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't put the effort in. So I just think, Ben, talk the viewers within 3 minutes through your race and how you ended up smashing, what was it, 21 minutes off your PB. Go.
Yeah. So I think start with, I was like London vibes before I started. I was really nervous. And obviously we'd fun run Berlin because you were injured. So I wasn't expecting the nerves on it. And it really kind of freaked me out in the morning. Had gone down to the starting pen, saw Al and Kieran before, got a hug off both of them, and that actually really relaxed me. So I'd written my times on my hand, which I've never done before, and then written them on the back of a piece of paper, stuck them in my phone case. And I'd said 2 weeks ago I was going for 3:30. In my head, I wanted to go a little bit quicker, but I wanted 3:30. So I'd written my times to halfway for 3:30, and then put down a 15-mile and a 20-mile time, which would have got me in, which was like the 3:26. So I set out, like we'd obviously had a pep talk in the morning. So I set out, went for it kind of nice and steady, because GPS in Chicago doesn't help. So my top tip for if you're doing Chicago is have a note of where you want to be at what time, just to kind of keep on the pacing. So I pretty much 5:10K was on pace, got to halfway about a minute and a half ahead of the 3:30 pace, and then just sped up to 16 miles, checked in, felt okay, so carried on to 20. And by the time I got to that stage and I was looking at where I was, I just thought, cowboy up, leave it all out there. This is like last marathon of the year, and see what I've got to drag myself around. And I think probably the last 2 miles, like Hayden, we were saying, there's a sign that says like 800 meters to go, but it's not for you running the marathon. And in my head, I was looking, going, I'm sure I haven't got 800 meters to go, because I haven't passed the 26-mile mark yet. It was like St. Albans vibes all over again, Chris, when you were telling me there was 800 meters to go and we hadn't passed 9K. So it was only as we kind of rounded that last corner, and I really wanted to sprint finish, but I was kind of like 400 meters to go. I was like, right, I'm going to go. I couldn't like get that much. And then as soon as you see that finish line, it just gives you that extra burst. But yeah, I think pacing wise and just having that strategy, especially when the GPS was off, was something that really played a part for me.
I've got a really important question, not to you. Hayden, whose house are you in tonight? There's no way, right? Every time he comes on this bleeding podcast, he's in a different room or a different house. It's true, isn't it?
No, it's not true. It's absolute rubbish.
Are you in your house tonight?
I'm in my house, yeah.
Are you in the other wing? Because I've never seen this room before. That's like oh, I know where he is. It must be the toilet. He's the only man who has a toilet with a TV that size in the toilet. It's true, isn't it? It's because he spends. Carry on. Al, how did your race go?
Well, I think just to go back a couple of points in terms of what you deal with when you run abroad, and we've spoken about this on the podcast a lot. You can't take away that it has an effect. I had to create an alter ego called Steve, because the vegans out there, the options are very limited. So I had to create a person called Steve that gave me options around pepperoni pizza and double cheeseburgers, and I managed to find my way through eventually how to kind of fuel and carb load ready for the race. But on a serious note, this training block has been inconsistent at best. Lots of life stuff dealing with, so I didn't really have any clue as to how it was going to go. When I fell out of the taxi on the way to Berlin, I wasn't even sure if I was going to make the start, but thankfully painkillers and everything got me to it. And I had the best time ever, because I went in with no expectations. There was no time. It was literally, if I get round, I've had a fantastic race. I was better than that. I had a couple of strategies in terms of dealing with the distances, given that I hadn't probably covered enough 18 and 20 milers. So it involved, out for 16 miles, giving it all, walking through the aid stations 16 to 20, and then a very deliberate run walk strategy for the last 10k. So I was ready to go at that point with my little pedometer and the intervals ready to beep. And looking back, that last 10k was quicker than the previous 10k because I had got into a different rhythm. I was no longer worrying about slowing down. I was no longer worrying about my pace falling off a cliff because I had a different strategy. And I actually, really enjoyed that last 6 miles because I was doing something different mid-race compared to normal when you're just hanging on for dear life and you're just, wishing the miles away. So yeah, in that context, I'm putting it down as one of my best marathons ever, because it was about survival, and some of you know how difficult that was even to get to the start line, and it exceeded expectations. So I'm really keen to go back because I would like to actually give a crack at it. It is a fab course. The crowd is absolutely amazing. I wish we could have the Mexican Mile, at every race, because they just went for it with tequilas and shots and 20-foot statues of Day of the Living Dead and everything. And it can't but just lift you. But it was true, I think, pretty much all the way around. So I hate to say it, I'd probably rank it higher than London now in terms of one of my favourite races. Yeah.
It's a good point you just mentioned now about the strategy change, the focus. I think we find ourselves sometimes when we're doing a race or we're in a race, and or whatever, or just a normal run, a long run that's maybe a little bit harder. You sort of try and just get into this rut of just slugging it out, and actually you're just sitting there just hating what you're doing. And I think what Al just said about in terms of changing it up, whether that's a run walk or whether you, and now I said this to Si, he's not on today. He's also got a hat like me as well. And this is not Simon's hat, by the way, Hayden, if we start crying about it. It's still, I can read but no, he struggled, quite openly struggled with his points in the race, in which, he always wanted to feel like he wanted to walk, even though he's like trained exceptionally well. He just had this thing. So this time round, I said to him, at these points on the mileage, drop it, push, do something slightly different to what you would normally do, which is, I just got to keep going. I just got to keep my legs turning up. I just got to keep going. I've got to get to the next mile. He pushed. And then he checked himself out and he pushed again, which is why he ran so strong at 3:42, which is his first sub 4 hour marathon. So it just shows you he's always had it. It was just doing what Al said, changing it up slightly made a huge difference to it, because there's nothing worse when you get to, whether it's marathons, half marathons, whatever it is, and you get to that last phase of it and you're just, is there any, I just want to stop. I just want, like Si does, I just want to have a lay down. And you can't help it. But changing it up, like Al did, brilliant. And Hayden, I've got to come to you, because everybody who's commented on the video has all said that you look like you're having the best time, and you're finishing like you ain't done nothing. Which I've got to say, and I've told this story to a couple of people, that both of these Herberts rung me pretty much after they crossed the line. And both of them, when they rung me, I'll be honest with you, you're both in trouble. They both sounded like they just finished park run. not running, under 3:30 hour marathons. Both of them sounded like they'd just done park run. It was an absolute Mickey take. It's good that obviously Ben had more in the tank, because we can push on that. And obviously the old man, he's got New York with me in a couple of weeks. So I'm pleased to be. It was just an absolute, it was like they run me like they'd done nothing. But you felt good, didn't you?
Yeah, I felt really good. It's actually quite strange just Al talking about his experience, and Ben. There's a few comments in there about what they've done. And I was actually it's just the way people approach the marathon and how they do it. This is what makes the whole sport so individual and so personal to everyone. I was speaking to a guy on the plane as we got off at Heathrow, and his PB before Chicago was 3:30. And he ran 2:44. And I was like, that's ridiculous. 45 minutes. I said, why? He said, I just went out. He said, I had a good training block. I went out really hard and just thought, I'm going to hold on for dear life. And he knocked 45 minutes off his PB. Al had it in his head. He's going to do that walk run at the end. Ben went up and down in paces. Simon was pushing at different points. for me, my strategy always was consistent pacing. People do call me Mr. Consistent. I just something about it. I like the
Who? Name them. I call you other things. I've never
You
called
do.
you Mr. Consistent. I've called
Loads
you
of people call
old,
me Mr. Consistent.
short. I could give you all the list if you want.
Listen, I've got loads for you, but it's 7 o'clock, so you might get in a bit of trouble. But no, I like to be consistent. I like to hit the same pace. And I had it in my head that I was going to hit a 4:55 pace for every kilometre. And if I felt really good in the last 5K, maybe give it a push. But ultimately, for me, everyone's got different goals. My goal was literally to get round, no injury, feel good, and just be ready for New York. I was only 12 weeks into my New York plan. So running a marathon at 12 weeks isn't ideal, but it worked fine. And I just had it in my head. Last year, I went out a lot faster than I did this year. And at 20 miles, I didn't blow up, but I had nothing left. And I come in 5 minutes slower than what I did this year. And this year, I come in, honestly, across the line. I felt fantastic. It was so comfortable. I'm just so pleased with myself. I know as well, I've got so much more there. And where some points when you're doubting your PBs, when you might have done it a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, and you think, I'm not going to get there again. Maybe I was thinking that a few months ago, but now, no problem whatsoever. I know that's there. And that was all about confidence. But
you won't go for it in New York, will you? Because that's a beast.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I was looking at the elevation. This is the thing with Chicago. It is fantastic. And out of everyone I personally knew that was there, I think everyone performed really well. It wasn't just about PBs, about performance and PBs. So Marissa was on the show before, the self-confessed back of the pack runner. Her training plan was awful leading up to this. She had a lot of injuries and she was really, really nervous about the 6:30 cutoff time, as she always is. She always laughs about it. She come in at 6 hours and 3 minutes. And her training plan, literally, she run maybe 2 or 3 weeks out of the 16. It was that bad. There's something about the place, something about the support, the atmosphere. And I think maybe being away from home, and it was flat, yep, absolutely, until the end. There's just something about it that's a little bit special. And I think that really gives you that boost and gives you that performance. I said in the comments, the guy, Gavin Braden, it's his first marathon ever. And then you do your first marathon ever and you do it in Chicago. Absolutely smashed it and loved it. The problem he's going to have is, how the hell do you match up to that?
How'd you top it? Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Al, let's, before we get into talking about what the hell you do now, what questions, comments, anything? You're on mute, big boy, even though it's my fault because I said about mute.
I was stopping the echo. So a couple of Chicago related questions. One for all of us. So we'll start with that one. Hiran wants to know what we thought about the organisation of the major in compared to others.
Not bad.
I thought it was pretty good. I know there were some issues if you're a little bit further up the track in terms of bag drop at the end, but I didn't experience any of that. And I think given where the marathon is in relation to the city centre, I don't think it could have gone much smoother, to be honest. Again, Kieran and I made a decision not to chase the start of our pen because of the toilet queues, but there was never any issues about not making it onto the start line. Absolutely awesome in terms of the number of walk stations, and you're always going to get idiots cutting across you on race day. I think that's inevitable. There was a few moans about that in some of the Facebook groups, but yeah, I don't think you can give it a 10 because you shouldn't, but I'd give it a good solid 8.5, maybe even 9 for organisation from where I saw it. So that's my view. Don't know about the rest of you guys.
Yeah, I think go on, Hayden.
I think you're going to say exactly the same as me, Ben. Me and Ben come over the finish line not far from each other, so we actually walked back to the bag drop. So up until that bag drop point, we actually had a bit of a conversation about ratings, and I think Ben went 10 out of 10, like no hesitation. And after the picking up the bag, he was like, maybe I would have dropped that at half a point because it was a bit of a pain. But as you said, when you look at the real terms of things, it held us up by maybe 15, 20 minutes. And a marathon of that scale over on the other side of the world, if everything else is perfect and you've got to wait 20 minutes for your bag pickup, so be it.
Yeah, it didn't dampen it. I think there was queues getting in as well. So I went in through gate 1. I don't know which gate you were, Hayden. There seemed to be a lot, which was fine. Like, it didn't bother me. But there was a girl I was chatting to in the queue who was having a bit of not a meltdown. She was just really nervous, which is fine, which actually probably helped me in a way, because focusing on her and trying to get her to sign up for 40 runs and, kind of doing all that actually took my mind off everything else. I've just seen one of the comments. There were plenty of toilets at the start line. like you, Al, I stayed at the back. I wasn't worried about getting into the pen. I was at the back of wave one, so I was quite happy being at the back and stuff like that. And yeah, plenty of room. I thought organisation wise, I thought no issues.
I've got a question. Well, it's not mine. I'm just stealing it. Hayden, out of the 5 majors you have completed so far, which has been the best for crowds / atmos?
As I was saying before, but this is a really personal thing. If I'm looking at it from myself, it's difficult because I was so hyped, so excited, and obviously Boston is just on a different scale altogether. And there's parts of the crowd in Boston that you just couldn't hear yourself think. So for me, that was right up there. But honestly, yeah, Chicago is right up there. The problem is Chicago and Boston are fighting for them top spaces, and they just push London, Berlin, and Tokyo down for me. So yeah, Chicago is definitely on par with Boston. Both of them are amazing, absolutely amazing. I'd just say, actually did help, to be fair, that we did have our own team of supporters out there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Big difference. Amazing. Tracy, Katie, Carolyn, Danny, all of them out there. It was just to have them there as well. The flag, the FORDY flag, it made Kafuzi's YouTube vlog. Yeah. It was just up there prominent. And when you see things like that, I actually saw the FORDY flag from about half a mile away. I knew that was coming. So that half a mile, I can't even remember that bit of the run. It wouldn't have mattered if I had one leg working. I still would have got there. Your mind just takes it off that, and you see that, you go away with a smile, and you move on to the next part of the course.
That's a really good point. You know, you see those cheer squads, and you want to stop and recognise them and give them a hug and all that, and you know it's going to slow you down, but you also know it's going to give you such a boost for the next half a kilometre or so that it's worth it, because it just lifts you spirit-wise, wherever it is, whether it's, you know, what was Katie? She was at mile 10, then there was halfway, and then mile 20 and whatever. You just knew you was going to get that lift from your own crew. And I think we've spoken about this in terms of why it's so important to get the volunteers out. You know, we had it, I think, at the big half where, you know, we had all the medals being dished out by Fordies. It makes such a difference to have a familiar face give you that little bit of support, whether it's during the race or at the end of the race, that, you know, you can't quantify what that's worth, but you know it's very special to have it out there.
And that's the amazing thing.
Foreign race, wow, that is icing on the cake.
And that's the amazing thing about this club that we've got ourselves into. Oh, sorry, Ben, I've left that up by accident. But yeah, this club that we've got ourselves into is just amazing. You know, to see all these people, like, as I said, even Thomas from Believe in the Run was talking about it on the Drop podcast today that they put out about you guys out there in my hat's fallen off, Hayden. About the you guys out in Chicago, you know, wherever you know, even around the world now, you know, to find that support, to find those heroes, whether it's volunteers, people on the course, or just at your local park run, you know, you're bumping into somebody who's part of it, and it does give a boost.
Go back to Jay's question as well. I think this isn't going to sound, I really hope it don't sound condescending or not racist or anything like that.
Say it.
Yeah, do you know, but what the problem is as well, I find you do the American marathons and everyone knows they are so over the top. They're over the top of everything. You just walk past them, they're like, go man, high fives, as loud as you want. Whereas when you're in Berlin, if you've experienced it, particularly Tokyo, because the main language isn't English, you're not going to get that shouting out your name, go Hayden. You haven't got that. So when you're in these American marathons, and London as well, obviously, you get that different experience as well from the crowd. And I think that's what makes a big difference. Whereas if I was from Tokyo, you know, or I spoke Japanese, maybe I think the Japanese marathon was a lot better.
Maybe they just hate you.
Did you find as well, Hayden? I think we were saying, there was what surprised me in Chicago was how many people didn't have names on their top. We've spoken about it so many times because we all had our names on our top. Like literally everyone, you know, I was chatting to admin before we started and had said, oh, I'm really nervous. And she's like, this is your victory lap. And actually it did feel like a victory lap because every person you passed was just like, go up there. And you're just like, there's so many people around me and they're just shouting for me. It was, it's crazy, but loved it.
I'm going to end the Chicago talk on this because you've just reminded me of something. We've got to give admin a big shout out, right? Because she had the best training block I've ever seen her do, right? She really committed to this one. And she reckons it was her last, but it ain't because she signed up for Berlin. And she absolutely flew round there. She beat her PB. Was it 20 minutes, Ben? I can't remember exactly.
Was it 25? I think
Something like that. But she absolutely flew round there. I rang Tobe or messaged. I can't remember what it was. I said, "Who's going to ring her and tell her to slow down?" Because she was going so fast, right? It was unbelievable. She absolutely killed it. So for all you admin fans out there, I know she's got them, and I'm not just talking about Speedgoat, but you've got to give her a shout out because she absolutely destroyed it out there. So give big props to admin for killing it. Right.
Actually, can I just know? You're going to get me. You're going to get me in trouble otherwise. I need to step in. You got to remember, my wife done a PB as well. So
yeah, Lou. Yeah, a good point. I'll let that one because
well.
she's my second favourite person.
she's just behind the door there, knocking, saying, "Mention my PB. Mention my."
I saw the note get passed.
Right, move on. Go.
Yeah, she wanted to use the toilet that you're in. Yes, right. So come on, guys. We've got to get off of Berlin because we get complaints about the fact all we do is talk about marathons, and that's all your fault. We talk about everyday runners. Okay. So look, it is a genuine, valid question because I think wherever you are in your journey, right? And again, this could be because you've got to 5K, you've got to 10K, you've hit the half marathon, maybe you just did Great North Run, whatever. Or maybe this weekend you're going to go and do 10 miles at the Great South Run. That's your first thing, right? What do you then do afterwards? So my question to you, and we're going to go around this, is what do you do now? Do you maintain your training? Do you maintain your frequencies? Do you keep running? Do you keep like doing the speed sessions? Do you keep doing the long runs? How do you now go about sort of, keeping yourself ticking over? Because we've all got different reasons why we run, lose weight, mental health, whatever it is, right? Social side of things. But what are you going to do to tick yourselves over now, Ben?
So I've got Valencia half next Sunday. So that's probably my one. I think after London, I didn't run for about a month, and then we did Hackney. And whilst the time was great, I noticed I struggled on that one. So this time round, I've done a couple of gentle runs this week. I'll do a couple of gentle ones next week. Then I've got that half. And then I'm looking at maintaining. I'll probably bring my distance on my long runs down to the 10 miles for through November, and then build back up through December again, and then we've got Manchester in April, so training block starts again. But I'm looking for this one to maintain.
Okay. So last time you sort of fell off a bit.
Yeah. Sat on the sofa,
watched the boxing, stuff like that. Al, what about you? What do you tend to do between blocks?
Yeah, so I won't stop, partly because I run for mental health as much as anything else. So having an extended break probably wouldn't work for me. So probably the easiest way to describe it is thinking about a reverse taper. So coming off this week, a couple of very gentle, easy runs, and then slowly building the miles back up. But with, at the moment, no real purpose other than just to be on my feet and just keeping ticking over. I don't have a spring marathon planned at the moment, so the target is a couple of spring halves, and I'm not really gone for any of those for about a couple of years now because marathons have taken over. So it will mean, in effect, a very different approach in terms of there won't be so many long, slow runs on a Sunday, but there will probably be more focus on some of the shorter, speedier work, trying to get some of that back in the legs after 18 months of marathon training. But I think it'll kick in a couple of weeks' time. What's interesting, this is the first time I've run a marathon where I've kind of lost hours coming back to the UK. So for me, my legs have felt fine, but I've just been generally knackered. So I'm listening to the body going, more sleep, better food, just do the basic recovery, get out there, do some running, because you want to be doing that for all sorts of reasons, but it's listening to your body. So this is a new experience in terms of coming back from the States, having run a hard race, and feeling that it is a bit different in terms of recovery. So in that sense, it will be a little bit play it by ear, see how that goes, and see if in a week's time, you know, I've got to that point where I feel like I'm sleeping well, eating well, and then able to kind of start thinking about, you know, what next with a bit of a plan down the line.
It's a funny one for me and Hayden, because we obviously got New York. I don't know about you, Hayden, but I found it weird, like all my mates sort of finishing up their season and then still going. It's been a bit bizarre. I'm kind of over marathon training for this year. I'm sort of done. I've checked out. The injury's not helped at all, to be honest with you, because I think that's probably half the reason, having to limit my miles every week. But I'm kind of done with it all. I'm sort of like checked out. So I don't think. Let me tell you, I've been given an amazing opportunity to go to New York, right, and run the New York City Marathon with the guys from Believe in the Man and New Balance. But I think next year, I wouldn't do it again. Do you know what I mean? I would rather finish in Berlin or finish in Chicago, and that's me done. And then like literally have a down month, let's say, and then sort of before I start gearing up again for spring. How are you feeling about all this?
Well, I think like what you just spoke about sums up really what you'd advise people to do. If someone said to you, they just started running, how many marathons a year would you advise I'd run? I think you and Al being the coaches, I'd imagine you'll probably say 2. You shouldn't really run more than 2 marathons a year. So as yourself, you're going to be doing 3 this year. I'm doing 4. So yeah, it's going to take it out of you, and maybe you are going to get them feelings where you think, you know, you're just done. You want to move on to the next thing. So I think, I'm a bit like you with that. I'm always going to target 2 marathons next year and try and stick to the 2 marathons. A lot of it, I think, depends on what your goal is, what your target is, what you've got coming up. Obviously, I'm on this is week 13 for me towards New York. So it's not as though Chicago was an end point or it's like just somewhere in the middle. This is week 13 for me. So I've got a half this weekend, and then next weekend I'm going to go long and then have a 2-week taper. And I'll probably come back, seeing how I feel the body feels. I am going to rest up a lot more in December. February, I'm out in Vegas for the half. And then probably I'd like to do a marathon in April. But I think I will stick to. I think it's almost like a tradition, the big ones. I'm going to go sort of spring, April, May, and then maybe September, October. And if I can maintain that for the next few years, I'll be great. My biggest problem is it's going to be motivation. For me, getting the 6 stars and doing the Abbots was always like eyes sparkling, can't wait for this. And I feel like it now. Some people said to me, don't seem that excited you're playing down New York. Honest to God, I wake up every morning, I keep thinking about that bloody bit of tin around my neck. That's all I care about. That's all I think about. I can't wait for it. I'm really excited. But I've always had that thought in the back of my mind. Once I get that, and I can wake up the next day and I'm happy and I've got my pictures and I've flown home, and I wake up, I'm like, well, what's next? What do I do? And this week, actually, I was actually talking to Ben about it over in Chicago. I have actually today as well signed up for the super halves.
Excellent.
Because the super halves have just increased it from 5 to 6. And there's 6 real good cities, easy to get to, quite quick, short weekends. They're all half marathons. And again, now I've got that little bit of excitement. Once the majors are done, that's the next goal for me to go.
So talk the viewers through, listeners through. Again, you've got 2.5 minutes to tell everyone what that is and why it's appealing. Go.
Well, it was originally a series of 5 races. It's Cardiff, Prague, Valencia, Copenhagen.
Lisbon.
They're the 5 halves, but they've just added for next year Berlin. So basically, you do the super halves, all 6 of them, a bit like the majors, and you get a super medal. In basic terms, that's what it is. They're easier to get into. There's no mucking about with ballots or things like that. And because they are in Europe, you know yourself, been to Amsterdam, you guys went up to Berlin, you can fly out there on a Friday, come back on the Sunday night or something. It's not going to take up your whole weekend. And I know it's a bit arrogant to say, but it's a half marathon for me. I find that quite easy. Well, easy, it depends how hard I want to go on it, but it's not something I'm going to have to train 16 weeks for. So it's really appealing. Super halves, get signed up. I've just signed up. We're in for Prague. Can't wait.
So to pick on that, it's accessible, isn't it? From a distance point of view, it's accessible from a travel, because pretty much all of those cities will have a Ryanair EasyJet option. Yeah. And to put a plug in, we are trying to get as many FORDYs onto many of those trips in 2024 and 2025. Awesome. So we can share the love of running abroad, because it is something different. It does give you a different motivation and a different spark. So if we can get a few groups going to each of those races, we will literally take over.
We should
Europe
set up the
next year.
events, one of you, in the Facebook group.
It wasn't me. It was Carolyn. But there are events pages live for each of the super halves now.
What, in the Facebook group?
In the
She's done that.
40
Oh, well done,
Runs
Karen. Thank you.
community
Yeah, I
Facebook.
think
So
that's a great shout to promote that. When is Prague? When you?
Prague is April. April 5th.
Sixth
But you know
of
what?
April.
You've come to me. You've come to Al. This man in the top right. I think he's only got one left or two left, isn't he?
And then play.
Well, I did.
Like? Is it any good, or is it like pony?
So the original one was all right. So I've done I've done Cardiff, Lisbon, Copenhagen. Got Valencia next Sunday, and then the plan was to finish in Prague because it's a Saturday race. And then literally they announced Berlin, and so I said to Spicy, "We're doing Berlin." She didn't have a choice. So that's the same weekend as Prague. So we'll do that 2025. But yeah, they are.
I'm going to correct you, Ben. It is the same weekend, but technically you could do Prague on the Saturday, jump on a plane, get to Berlin, and do that on the Sunday.
That's some challenge.
That is technically feasible.
Yep.
You could, but I treat every running abroad as a holiday.
Say that again. So I wasn't listening because I was looking at a picture of a man with a very, very, very big medal. Sorry,
he's looking up the super halves. That's what he's doing.
Ben, so Al, say that again because that sounded interesting.
So the way they've scheduled the super halves, I don't know if it's deliberate or why it's come about, but as Ben said, the Prague is on whatever day, but it's a Saturday. And the Berlin race is on a Sunday. And Prague to Berlin is not 1,000,000 miles.
Oh.
So whether you were flying, coaching, I'm going to put an advert in for Flixbus. I'm sure you could get a €25 Flixbus from Prague to Berlin.
Is this the same weekend as Manchester?
I don't know.
No, weekend before.
Right.
I'm doing, yeah, I think so. Because I'm doing Prague and then Manchester. The only thing with that, though, is do you have time to get to the expo in Berlin?
You get a friend to pick it up for you. No, I'm just saying it's possible. We've looked at it. The Prague Lager is probably the biggest.
7th. Brighton's on the 7th.
And Prague's on the 7th.
Oh, I can't do that. Oh, mind you saying that. When's the one on the Saturday?
Saturday, Prague. Sorry, the Saturday.
Hey, are you doing that one?
I'm doing Prague.
On the Saturday?
Yes.
Oh, bugger.
Are you coming?
We was meant to be doing something else on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He just realised. It just clicked.
Yeah. Well done. Thanks for coming. But I've got to say, the medal. Hey, it's all right. Leave it to me. I'll sort it all out.
Of course.
The medal does look good. If I do these 6 or 7 or whatever you're talking about, I've already lost
6.
What you're talking about. Do I have to do them all in the same year? When can I get this medal?
So you have to do them within 3 years from when you start your first one.
No, now 4 years.
5. I think it's 60 months now, actually.
5 years.
They keep changing it. This is the only thing I'm going to say about Super Halves, that it originally was supposed to start in 2020. Obviously, the pandemic hit and it all changed. But their messaging and communication about all those races that got postponed was shocking. And which is where, with this, I'm not surprised about their messaging around this as well. Because I think I've said on here before, I was in Cardiff the night before the Cardiff half, and it was only that I randomly went on their website and saw that it wasn't part of the new Super Half series, and so I had to do Cardiff twice in a year, and I could have delayed it had we known that before. So their messaging, they need to just get a little bit better on that, I would say.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Sadly.
I was getting feedback from my earphones, so I got rid of them. Ben.
Yes.
I'm going to show you a man with a very big medal. Joe Cruz. Look at the size. So if you're on the podcast, I'm just showing a man with a very big medal. Is that what we're going for?
Yeah.
I might do it, you know. That looks pretty good.
And they're reasonably
checking him out.
They're reasonably priced as well.
When you say reasonably priced, Hayden, you've got to remember you're a billionaire. So what is that in reference to everyday runners?
I think Prague was €68. I think it was €70.
That's a bit trumpy.
Was it? Because I have to say with them as well. So Valencia, they might change it now, but with quite a few of them, if you're one of the first entrants, so like up to the first 10,000, it was say €30. Then 10,000 to 30,000 was €40. So some of them have a kind of staggered pricing as well. But Copenhagen was around €70. That was the most.
Yeah.
That was the most expensive one out of all of them. But yeah, I mean, for it, and to get, there's no entry, like other than the entry fee. There's no times that you have to that you kind of have to run. So it is accessible for everyone. And as Al said, it is within Europe. You can hop on a flight, no issues, and stuff like that. So I've loved doing them, and it's an excuse to kind of get away and go for a weekend away with friends.
And you say €70 is a bit steep. What's that, about 58 quid?
I like the
Landmark, same price as Landmarks.
Big
I
on.
like the fact that we're going to own these. I like the fact that Carolyn's already put them in the Facebook group, and we're now going to take over all these events. And the fact that we're going abroad big time. I like this a lot. I don't care really about your whatever you're talking about. I didn't really catch any of that. Immediately, I'm just thinking of like us lot out at all these races, smashing the living daylights out of it.
You're thinking about the big medal. You're thinking about the big
medal.
No,
I'm not. Where is he? Where's Ben's mate?
I'm thinking about that.
I'm not thinking about Wahey Cruz or whatever his name is. I'm just thinking about, like you just said, going back to, I think it was our point or your point. I can't remember who it was. Wasn't really listening. Was about the flag. That's what I listened to. Was the flag and the symbol. You know, the fact that, you know, even like as you said, Mike Gafuzzi picked up on that. Then to take that to all these other events and to bring that message of everyday runner to across the world, it's just brilliant. I love it. When Hayden, have you sorted out my place?
What place?
For these things you said. And obviously, I can't do the one that you've now done because obviously reasons.
I literally, this is something that happened when I got back from Chicago. It was last night, I think it was, and someone put up on about Berlin being added. So I looked into. I sort of knew what the super halves were because of Ben and Rachel were doing them, and I just started looking into it yesterday. And we saw the Prague Wednesday, and I spoke to Louisa, and we were talking. She said it's the Easter holidays, the last weekend. She said, "Should we do it?" And I was like, "Do you know what? Even if I get into London, if I get to London or something like that,
we got nothing big.
And then after that, as you said, I thought, well, I didn't even know. Louisa told me tonight that Carolyn set up an event page for every single one of the super halves. So I'm like, whoa, let's get cracked. The only thing I will do, and I'm determined to, I'm not going to go there and just want to just smash all 6 of these out in the space of a year or 18 months. I really want to spread these out. So I'll go back to that point we talked about 20 minutes ago. I'm not getting to that point where I'm thinking, this is all done now. Right, next, what's next? I don't want that. I want to sort of like, no, I've got these 6 over the next 3 or 4 years. Do 2 a year. I'll be over the moon if I can get Prague and maybe Valencia done next year. Choose the 2 apart the year after.
And the good thing is, 3 of them are spring, 3 of them are autumn as well. So you can literally do two a year. I think we did 3 last year, just kind of like Cardiff. It was great. We went down on the Saturday morning, drove and stayed Saturday night, Sunday night. That's probably the shortest one that we've done. Whereas all the others, we've flown in Thursday, Friday, made a weekend of it. And they're just amazing cities, and it's just so cool. So Lisbon, you start on the bridge as well. It's I think it's the only race that you start on the bridge and get to run across the bridge, which is pretty iconic.
I like the fact that we've actually inadvertently answered the question of the topic, which is what to do after, which is basically book more races. Just go way up and book more races and just spread the word. I think that's it, isn't it? It's just what do you do after you finish training? Sign up for something else and start training again.
But that is a runner's mentality, and that is what it is. We all like structure in our lives, and by signing up to a race, you've got structure. You've got a endpoint, a focus point, whether that's 6-week plan, 12 weeks, 16, 20 week, whatever it is, you've got something to work towards. And that's important in life, every aspect, I think.
Yeah, it is true. It's just funny the fact that we've all said the same thing. And but I do it, and again, it's irrelevant, right? It's relevant for anybody, even if if you're like couch to 5K, like what do you then do? It's like come book a 10K. You might as well carry on. I was talking to New Dave on what are you laughing about New Dave for?
Do you know what? Because people might understand this story. Literally, I was introduced to this guy at Vitality 10K. Hayden, hi, this is New Dave. I'm thinking, his name can't be New Dave. New Dave. And I realise it's you, Wally. You've given him the name.
Best thing, I'll tell you a little story quickly. Don't matter, no one's listening. We was at Royal Parks when I was with a friend of mine. And we was running around like idiots. and I see new Dave volunteering. I'm shouting out, Dave, like this. And he's going, who's that making all that noise, shouting out Dave? And then he's realised it's me calling him Dave. And he went, oh, I thought he. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, my point about new Dave, I was chatting to him on Wednesday, and he's got a couple of bits coming up half marathon now. And I said, Dave, you might as well just carry on doing a marathon. He's gonna sign up for something. It's inevitable, isn't it? Because it's that progression, isn't it? It's that thing. Once you get that running in your life, you get that health and well-being that comes from running. And you know that it was interesting this week, where we did the mental health awareness, you know, and all that kind of stuff. The 3 things that make you smile. Everybody said it was me, which was amazing. But you know, we was talking about genuine, seriously, you know, mental health awareness and the positivity that comes out of running. Okay. And then what you find is that somebody gets into running, all of a sudden they're addicted, and then they start signing up for everything. But it's true, it's so good for you and what you can do. And so, you know, there's never any reason to get down about your running. There's never any reason if it's not going to plan. Don't get down, because the thing is, it's absolutely amazing what you're getting out of it anyway. So never get down about your running. And when you finish a block, sign up for something else, because then you'll keep rolling. You'll stay on that ride. You know, that's what it's all about. Now, we've got to give a few shout outs. Firstly, we've got to give a shout out because Benny Boy is organising a trip to Paphos. And that's you've got to have that booked by the end of the month. So we need to get you in for Paphos. Ben, how can they book? Just go onto the Facebook page or do you
so if they look for the event again? Yeah, so if they look for the, I didn't get many from that, by the way. Yeah, if they look for the event on the Facebook page, and then we'll repost it tomorrow as well. So I think we've got about 22 signed up so far. Brilliant. So it's going to be another. We're going to take over Cyprus, aren't we?
Yeah. So you need to, Penny. You need if you want to come, book it now. You haven't got a choice on this one. You've got to just cowboy make a decision. You either go for it or you don't go for it. You can't be either way on this one. Get off the fence, get the splinters out your bum and book it if you're looking to do Paphos. Next up, we've got to give a shout out to the people who are running the Amsterdam Marathon this weekend. I've done it. It's fantastic. Don't lay down at 25.5 miles. It's not recommended. The Yorkshire Marathon is also this weekend. Good luck to everybody who's doing that. We've got about 1 million people doing the Great South Run this weekend as well. So make sure that there's a meetup posted. There's an event in the Facebook group. Get along to that. I'm going to be at the Oxford half. I'm filming, but I am genuinely there. So the good thing is with Oxford is there's a lot of sort of out and backs and stuff like that. So we all see each other quite a lot. So I will be out on course. I'm starting early, but I am out on course filming. So make sure if you see somebody in a 40 runs top, you shout at them very loudly, especially if it's new Dave. And don't call him Robert, call him Dave. We had who did we have the other day? We had new Derek, didn't we? We got Bob, by the way. Have you met new Bob? We've got new Bob at Hertford as well. Brilliant. So make sure that if you're at any of these races this weekend and you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed by it all, hunt out another 40 runner. Okay, don't necessarily even need to talk to them. Just stand by them and smell them. They usually smell awesome, unless your name's Hayden. I think that's it. Have I covered all the races and events this weekend?
I've got one. It's not such an event. It's about Great South Run based. Don't know if people have seen or known. So in the 40 Runs running community, one of the benefits of joining the 40 Runs running club, which is absolutely free, by the way, is we are now not partnered up, but we are helping a charity up in the Northeast called For Louis. Very, 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 very important charity that does some absolute amazing work. And they're helping us out with some good race places. And we've got a few of our runners, 40 runners, that will be down wearing their tops with pride at the Great South Run, promoting for their charity For Louis, which is a Northeast-based charity. So if you get a chance, go and check them out and have a look at them. Absolutely. What they do is brilliant.
We've got a page set up. No one has to donate if they don't want to, but if you do, we've got a page set up. We'll put a link there somewhere out over the weekend. But if you see anybody in a For Louis top, give them a shout out as well. Really, really great, amazing charity based in the Northeast. They do incredible work. And I say we've teamed up with them with some race places and trying to raise some awareness. So give them a shout. JBS has just mentioned as well. It's the Manchester half as well. That's the other one because I know some of the staff's crew are going up there as well. Make sure you get along to that one if you're doing that one or you're supporting. Again, look out for the guys and girls that are doing that. so yes, so check that one out as well. So we've got the staffs and loads of people doing the Manchester half. So it's a busy weekend. I think Medal Monday will be crazy as always, which is good news. Park run out for you Saturday?
Yeah, ticking
Where you
off
heading to?
another Essex park run. So heading to Harrow Lodge with the three amigos, I think.
Okay.
That should be fun. Nice
Benny
little
boy?
gentle jog round.
Yes, I think I'm actually going to Harrow, like not the lodge part. Sorry. So just down the road because I need a H for my alphabet. So I think I'm going to Harrow.
Where are you on your alphabet?
I've got 5 letters left, I believe.
What to learn? 5 letters left to learn the alphabet.
Learn, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What are those letters?
H, I, Q, Y, and Z.
Try and make a word out of that while I talk to Hayden. I thought you was going to say some other letters to be honest with you when you put the other. Yeah. Is it what was it? Q? Did you say?
Yeah.
Where's Q? What one's Q?
You've got Queen Elizabeth Country Park.
Yeah.
I've done.
Yeah, that's what
There's a couple of Queens. I think there's a Queen's in Belfast and a Queen's in Scotland.
Ooh, Belfast.
You've got to come to Ipswich. There's not many eyes. And if you want your Z, Zuda Park, 17th of February, my birthday weekend.
Oh, see, I haven't got much leave because of Paphos, and my cousin's getting married in.
Are you blowing me out?
He's getting married.
He's just blown me out, isn't he?
I am sorry. There's a Z near Krakow, so I've already said to him on his wedding morning, I'm going park run.
Nice. I'll be back later.
Exactly.
Just a cheeky 3 miles. Queens in Belfast, get yourself over, Ben. Yeah, Ben, you've got your fans who are saying.
Oh, Gavin.
You had a lot of fans out in Chicago, didn't you?
I mean, I like to think so. Gavin, I'll let you know when I'm coming over. We'll meet there. Gavin loved Chicago. We looked after him, didn't we, Hayden?
We did. And you know, it's actually saying that, honestly, if I could remember the names, I would. But there's so many people literally in the departures lounge going out. They notice you, they come up to you. One person actually, most people are quite nice. One person actually can't see, looked at me and went, Hobbit. And that was it. Nothing else. Nothing else at all. It just went, Hobbit. And that was it. Nothing else. But a lot of people were just like, they're giving loads of love for the show, the podcast, and I listen to the podcast. It's really good to hear that when you're out, especially again when you're in Chicago. It's such a great talking point. Someone come to you and say, listen to that podcast. That was great. I remember when you were talking about this. We have so much love for the podcast all around the world. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's mad, it is mad. We had it at Royal Park. Some lady stopped us on the way out. Obviously, she looked at Tobe up and down and thought, why is he in Chicago again? She couldn't quite work that one out, but she was saying about it. It is amazing. It is an incredible thing that's come out of this podcast. Obviously, the YouTube channel, everything around what we do here. But to hear that around the world is and the big serious, go back to what I was saying, to hear like the guys on Believe in the Run talking about the fact that you guys are out there. I mean, they're huge, right? In the US, you think about their shakeout runs, you know, they're getting over 200, 300 people regularly at these shakeout runs and things like that. They're massive in the US in terms of the running community. Talking about us lot rocking out Chicago, you know, it's everyone in there. 40 runs tops and stuff like this, and their bobble hats and seeing it all around the world. It is amazing.
There's a woman that was actually one at the expo when you go to get your numbers, the people that sort of scan your number and you give you the bag and stuff. One of the women I was there and I had my 40 top on. Literally, she said, as I walked away, it wasn't flippant. She went, seen so many of them bloody 40 runners today. That's what she said. We was at the expo early as well, so.
I know we had that Royal Park. I've seen so many of your tops out there today. I've seen so many of your runners out there today. It's pretty cool. I've got to. I'm not going to say too much, but be prepared in the next few weeks for some big announcements coming. We're going to start rolling out some big announcements between now and the end of the year for our plans for 2024 that I think are going to blow some people out of the water. We're going to be changing the landscape of running clubs in general, and the running community across the country. So. Stand by for that. We started teasing some of that out. So I'm not going to say too much because I'll get shouted at by admin. But yes, we've got quite a bit coming out. So if you're not part of this madness, or as Mark Sloan calls it, the cult that is 40 runs, then get on board now. It's as we say it all the time, and we're not being flippant with it. It is free to join. You can be anywhere in the world. You can become a member. So get involved. We've got all the different Strava groups. We've got the global running crew that go out virtually twice a week. We've got the trail crew who are now just eating it up every week. We've got obviously the over 35 satellite groups up and down the country which, you know, everybody's welcome to join. There's no barrier to entry there. So get involved, people. It's now's the time to get involved. So yeah, that you've been warned. I keep saying it, but you have been warned. There's some amazing things that are coming across the country. I've just seen the comment about Scotland across the country. So yes, I think that's probably a good place to leave it. Hayden, we've got a busy weekend. I don't know if we can say we've got an event in London that Hayden's coming with me to take part with tomorrow, and then obviously I'm at Oxford, so we've got a busy weekend as well, haven't we, young man?
I've got park run tomorrow morning first, early doors. We're going out to Richmond Park. It's a hour now. I don't know what they call it. I think it's a 555. I don't know what that means, but we're
at Richmond Park. It'll be massive.
Yeah, this is Marissa. You know what she's like.
There we go. Hayden, you better get out of that toilet because I think Lou's probably still at the door trying to get in.
I tell you what, I can't wait to get out of his hat.
Yeah. Are you warm?
Well,
that's why I only wear mine when I go out running. I mean, that's the thing. What's the matter? If any of you lose your hats, obviously you can borrow mine that I got from Chicago. But that's it. I think that's it. We've got to give a shout out again to the guys at what's it called? Sketches. It's all right. Al's gone black. His screen's gone black. It's just threw me out. I don't know where he's gone. I think he's left. But yeah, so give a shout out to the guys at Sketches. Go to sketches.co.uk. Make sure you check all that stuff out. Thank you very much to everybody for all your questions. Thank you everybody for taking part. If you're listening to this as your podcast, thank you very much. This is an award-winning podcast, and we love you all. There's nothing else to do other than for Ben to take us out while I work out what we're doing. Ben, take us out.
Bye, boys.